Welcome to The Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose, and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of The Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to The Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life.
We share to imagine miracles time and time again, that each and every one of us has access to guidance to help us on our journey, to discover who we are, why we're here, what we have to offer, and how to best bring all of that to a world that needs us, a world that is waiting for us to step fully into the life that we're meant to live in a way that opens doors for them to do the same. In that process of tapping into this guidance, the understanding that your answers and your true answers are going to come from this guidance, not from the outside world. We have a tendency to believe that if we follow a certain person's path, then our life will be like theirs. Or if we get the answers from this guru or even from this psychic, that the information that we receive is truly telling us exactly the direction that we're meant to go and how to get there. But usually what happens in that, we tend to pick up on someone else's ways, or we lock into our energy in the moment and follow that way. But when you can open yourself up to tapping into that inner guidance, tapping into all the answers that are available to you, you can open the door for so much more and give yourself opportunities that you could never imagine having. And they're waiting for you. It's just getting into that inner technology, to getting into that inner guidance, to tapping into all the guidance that's available to you each and every moment. I'm with tThe today. Sandy's a visionary, meditation teacher, and yogi. She encountered the path of meditation after living with crippling depression and anxiety for most of her teen years. Through practicing self-transformation methods, she learned how to self-heal mental, emotional, physical trauma, and break generational patterns. Today, Sandy speaks on stages and hosts live events, helping others do the same. She offers a heart-centered, holistic approach that integrates the mind, body, spirit, and guides individuals, no matter how busy, to experience life's greatest prosperity, self-realization. tThe, are you ready to share the miracle of you with the imagination?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I want to acknowledge you and what you're doing on this podcast, because I think we're living in a day and age where it's so easy to look at the world that we're living in and feel defeated. And so to have conversations and to bring guests on the show that can really show more people what does exist, and that there is a whole world of miracles if we only wake up to it. It helps more people to see the possibilities of what's in it for them.
Each and every one of us are miracles, and we've come into this world for a reason. And once we uncover it, everybody seems to blossom and grow into it. We just need to recognize ourselves and recognize each other on that journey. Speaking of recognizing, you're doing some amazing things in the world, and I know your bio doesn't come close to sharing with the audience just how amazing you are. Could you give us a little bit more about your background and what you're doing in the world?
Yeah, so I am the founder of Prosperous School of Self-Realization, which is an online well-being and meditation school. It teaches people from 3 levels, mind, body, and spirit, how to create harmony between those worlds and recognizing that they're all connected together. And so oftentimes when people are working in the world, or they're on their career path, they feel like they have to compartmentalize who they are in order to be successful, or in order to fit society's ideals of what success is. And in the process of doing that, sometimes what most people do is they sacrifice their own health, their mental, physical, emotional well-being. And what I propose through Prosperous is that you don't have to be a well-studied scientist or a monk that has been training meditation for years in the Himalayan mountains, that each and every one of us have the ability to know our true selves at the very subtlest and innate level. And we have the ability to draw out our gifts and our wisdom in a way that guides our life forward. And it doesn't have to be this constant tug of war game between who you think you are and who you're supposed to be, or who the world wants you to be. So Prosperous helps people to realize that you have everything that you need within you. And we offer different breathing practices and gentle movements like Qigong that really help your mind, your body, and your spirit to understand that they're all having a conversation. And that way, more and more people are able to not only live deeper in their purpose, but enjoy their life and be more present along the way. So that's what I do with Prosperous. And we also host retreats called the Royal Glow Meditation Retreat. This year, it's going to be in Sarasota, Florida, where I actually just moved to. And I my background is I am Vietnamese, African American, and Indian. So I grew up multi-religious. My mom was Catholic. My dad was Buddhist. However, he always taught me that every religion has a teaching out of it, and it's all the same universal source. And so I had these teachings from a younger age, but I didn't make it mean anything until I had my wake up calls, in life, and really had to dig deeper to understand what is this? What does life mean? Who am I? Why am I here? Where did I come from? And where am I being asked to go right now?
Could you share some of those wake up calls that really helped you step further into what you're doing?
Yeah. I would say my first most prominent wake up call. First, I want to kind of define a wake up call to me. A wake up call to me is when you've reached this point in your life where you are no longer able to ignore or deny what is going on with you. As human beings with these brains and analytical thinking, we can be very intelligent, and we can teach ourselves how to lie to ourselves. And sometimes it's the function of what our ego does. Our ego is there to protect us. And there are certain things or traumas that we've experienced where in that point in time in our lives, we're not quite ready to we're not quite ready to be present with it yet, or to navigate through it yet. So for me, my wake up call happened when I was in college. It was my first year in college. And I started noticing that I, would eat more foods. I would isolate myself a lot more. I didn't feel as vibrant. I felt like my joy was forced. I felt like it was fake. I felt like um, I was trying to create this sense of busyness in my life by doing more, achieving more, getting great grades, juggling 3 different jobs, because at that time my mom was a single mom and I was the first child to go through college in my family. And so I felt like I had a lot of weight on my shoulders to do a lot well. And this pressure that I put on myself eventually led me to a place where I had gained over 45 pounds, and I'm 5'2", and 45 pounds extra than what my normal body weight was. I had started to lose hair from all the stress. I had trouble sleeping. I had nights where, I just couldn't sleep at all. And I remember like getting ready to go out to a party and falling asleep while doing my makeup for 2 minutes and having it feel like I slept for 2 whole hours, because that's how tired my body was. And so my wake up call was when I looked down on my body one day, and I was sitting in my dorm room, and I just felt so I asked myself, how did I get here? How did I get here to this point? Oftentimes we don't listen to pain in our bodies. I also had a lot of digestive issues. We don't listen to pain in our body until it screams at us. And that's what I felt like my body was eventually getting to a point of doing. It was screaming at me to do something. And that's when I knew I needed help. So I went to see a school psychologist. And in my meeting with her, it was a short 5-minute meeting. I was in one moment and I was prescribed with antidepressants the next moment. And I just knew in that moment that it wasn't for me. I knew that there was a different path. And at that point, I didn't know what intuition meant. I knew what gut feelings meant. And I knew that my gut was telling me something different. And so I started to study how to eat better. So I started to change my diet. I got into exercise, and all of that began to make a profound difference in my life. And so when I started to kind of stabilize my body a little bit more, I realized that what I was escaping from was depression, and experiencing that from my parents getting divorced when I was 15 years old, living in a different state with my aunt and my younger siblings while they were sorting their things out. So having to play the role of, mom and dad at the same time. And then my close cousin passed away when I was younger. So it was just a series of events that was happening all at one time while I was starting my year in college, where it's supposed to be the place where you figure out who you are, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, so that's pretty much my wake up call. And I would say that was kind of a warm up. My biggest wake up call happened a year after, in the summer of 2013, when I had competed in a bodybuilding competition. So I actually went to a new level of extreme. So I said, okay, well, if not eating healthy is not going to work out for me, I'm going to eat really, really healthy, like completely be strict on my body, and went to this whole new level of extreme. And that summer was a summer when I had completely burnt out. When I say burnout, it's not like what you think where you're just tired. I didn't sleep for 5 days. I lost my sense of critical thinking, my ability to process information. I felt like I lost my mind. My body had no energy. My mom had to bathe me. That was the degree of burnout that I had experienced. And it was through that whole experience that I was guided to an Ayurvedic practitioner that then led me to my meditation teacher, and my journey with meditation and self-realization had began.
Let me ask you this, Sandy. First of all, thank you for the definition that you shared with about wake up calls. They truly are moments of choice where we push ourselves to a place where we have to make a choice. And it seems as you got to this place where, like you said, your ultimate wake up was actually bringing yourself to a point where you were almost helpless in a way. I think this will help the audience tremendously. In that space, what do you remember going through your head, and what do you remember the people around you sharing that got you to, okay, I found both ends of the spectrum. How do I best live my life now? What happened in those probably the weeks around, or maybe even months around that decision?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because when I was going through that, I did experience almost like a blackout. It was hard for me to recall what happened during those concentrated, times. It was about a month and a half, where what I knew about what happened was through the people that were directly around me. And I was quite helpless. I actually reached out to my my best friend's mom, because something within my unconscious mind reminded me that she had a degree in psychology from Cornell. And I knew that I needed some kind of help, but I knew that my mom wouldn't understand. And I didn't feel like I could trust, seeing outside help again, because of what had happened the first time. And so she was the one that brought me to a lot of different, physicians. And it was really interesting because despite how helpless I was, in my mind, I just knew what was going to work for me and what wasn't going to work for me. And I had to believe at that moment that I wasn't crazy. But I kept thinking to myself, am I losing my mind right now? Because the only people that I'm being brought to are mostly people in mainstream medicine that kept trying to prescribe really strong medications for me. And I was very much rejecting it. I think this has been a thing since I was younger as well. My mom would give me, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Robitussin or Robitussin, whenever I had coughs, and I hated the smell of it and the taste of it. So I I ended up just tossing it out when she wasn't looking. And so when I think back, that's always been a thing for me. And this is going to look completely different for everybody. And I'm not against medication. I just want to put that disclaimer out there in case, people are on medication and it greatly serves them in their path. For me, that just wasn't the case. And so there was this like dynamic between, well, that person is in a white coat and I need to trust and believe everything that they're saying. But then there was this part in my gut that was just telling me that this wasn't the right path. And it was through my resistance of going in those directions that eventually my best friend's mom said to me, okay, I'm going to bring you to a Eastern medicine doctor who he's an Ayurvedic practitioner, and he's a world-renowned Ayurvedic practitioner, and he helped me cure my colon cancer. So she brought me to him, and for the first time, he sat there with me for 3 hours asking me questions. And then finally I felt like my nervous system was finally relaxed as I was trying to process what was going on. And he said to me, you don't have any of these other things that people were saying. The other doctors were saying I have bipolar disorder. And he said, you're just coming out of a very deep depression. And there are some lifestyle changes that you need to make. And if you don't want to go on medication, then you should try meditation. So he gave me this brochure, and I connected so deeply with that brochure. There were no words that could describe or explain what I was experiencing in that moment. I just knew that it was my way forward. And I had never heard of meditation in that sense before. You kind of hear about it in the mainstream world with like yoga and meditation afterwards. But this type of meditation I knew was going to be a profoundly different, enriching experience. And I knew that it was what my whole body, my soul needed. And so he got on the phone with my physician, it was my Ayurvedic practitioner, physician, and meditation teacher. And they said, okay, let's give her a few weeks with meditation and see how she does. And if after that doesn't work out, then she's going to have to go on this other path with medication. And I agreed because I knew that I needed help. Mm-hmm. So, for me, my thought process around that time just toggled, between the nuances of, am I crazy? How do I know what's best for me when I don't even know how to take care of myself right now? I had no tools. I had no direction. I had nobody that I felt like I could explain things to that would understand. And it took really diving headfirst into what felt right, what my intuition was guiding me towards in order for me to be where I am right now.
There's so many opportunities for us to follow the guidance that we get, the internal knowing, the tapping into the energies of our higher self, and the universe delivers with the people that need to be in our life in that moment. And it sounds like you brought a team together to really help you move beyond the depression, to help you heal your body as you got rid of those things that you've been holding on for such a long time. Could you tell us some of the experiences that you began to have after you healed your body and you were moving in the right direction? What kind of things happened for you to want you to step into really truly living your mission? Because it's obvious that you're living your divine intent in this world, what kind of things happen for you?
Thank you. Yeah, just to give people some background, when I was in college, I thought that I wanted to work for a Fortune 500 company. I thought I wanted to do public relations. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and have my own firm. However, I didn't know that I would be, dictating what my life looks like in the way that I do right now. And so the way that I eventually was led to that place, or the things that I had to do, was I had to accept that what I thought my life was supposed to be was what other people thought my life was supposed to be. And I absorbed it to be true for myself. Now, I didn't have parents that said, you need to do this, you need to do that. My parents were always very much, they instilled a lot of belief in me, and the ability for me to choose whatever it was that I wanted to do. However, there was this pressure from society in general, that feels like if you want to be successful in life, you have to go down this very linear path. Go to work for a corporate, climb the ladder, get benefits, insurance, 401k, and all that good stuff. And then for me, I knew that I finally had to separate that, because that no longer aligned with what this pull was, this calling was, that I couldn't place words on. It's not something I could explain. And so that's the first thing. The second thing was I had to accept that there is an old part of me that is dying. And it's a part of me that attached the identity that I knew myself as before. And that's a really hard part. There's a grieving process that goes through that. And I remembered one of the other things that I did was I separated myself from technology and the internet and social media, for a year. I logged off all of my social media accounts, didn't even have it on my phone, because before that I was on it all the time. And I realized how much of my energy was being sucked into this tiny little thing, and not being present with the people in my life. And there were times where I felt like I hated myself for it. And I felt like I wasn't living life in the most enriching way that I could possibly live. And so it took force from the people around me. But I did it. I got rid of my social media account. And in that 1 year, I felt like all I had was space. And it was space with no agenda. I didn't have a job. I didn't work. I've been overly stimulating my nervous system for years now. And I just spent one year just taking it really easy on myself. And that's when I started going deeper into meditation. And when I sat down with my teacher in our first meditation experience together, it was enough of a glance, a hint, a taste of what feeling good could feel like, feeling home could feel like, that it kept me there, kept me wanting more. And I realized that there was this old part of me that was constantly seeking for validation or acceptance from the outside world, from, my partner, from my dad, from my cousin, from the people all around me that are now suddenly gone, either through death, or either through divorce, or either through infidelity, like all these things that happened in my life at once. I realized that my greatest source of belonging was inside myself. And I found that through this meditation experience. And all beliefs that I had before began to shatter about what reality actually meant, about what life actually meant, what the universe actually meant. And just by looking at things from a micro level, my awareness and my perspective began to broaden on a macroscopic level. And then I started to view the world completely different. So it was like the divine took glasses that I had on before that were very blurry, and I couldn't see the world clearly. I could make it through the world just fine if I really, really try to squeeze my eyes to see through certain holes of where this blur is. But he switched it through, she switched it through with glasses that are clear, and I have high definition, and I can see things in the eyes that's not just through my own eyes, but through the eyes of the divine. So my relationships with people began to change. I started looking at strangers as reflections of myself, and I didn't just see them as that. I felt them and recognized them as that, despite their personalities and their unique expressions of the divine. I started to view money and work completely differently. I started to change the way I was eating without restricting myself, because my meditation practice was teaching me how to listen to my own body. So now my body is telling me, oh, this is what you can eat. This is what you shouldn't eat. This fits your energy makeup and this doesn't fit your energy makeup. And I started to learn intuitively what my organs were navigating towards, and not just my taste buds and my ego alone, right? Like Doritos and chips are great for my taste buds, but there are certain vegetables and kale and greens that are good for my organs. So I started to make decisions towards that. And my body, in terms of a weight level, began to sustain and maintain itself. And I no longer felt like I needed to put in this crazy effort of massive growth and let me get to the next level type of change to experience it. Instead of jumping to the next moment, I learned more how to go deeper into the moment that I had. And that was probably one of the most profound changes. I know that was a long-winded answer, but I hope that answers your question.
It certainly did. And you shared the answer to the next question I have here in everything that you described. But I was wondering if you could give us a more direct explanation of what self-realization is.
Self-realization is recognizing that you are the essential nature, you are the I amness that is part of everything that pervades in this world. It's recognizing that beyond our lower self, which is our personality, our habits, the part of ourselves that is made up through our conditioning, through society, through our parents and what they've taught us, and their parents and what they've taught them. That's our lower self. Our higher self is a part of us that is connected to the divine, or in Sanskrit, what is said Sat Chit Anand, which stands for eternal life, liberty, and joy, life, liberty, and happiness. That is all innate within us. And it's interesting because when you study this and you look into the Declaration of Independence, we all were endowed with life, liberty, and happiness under God's name we trust, right? And so self-realization is recognizing that you are that. You are part of this infinite intelligence that right now in this moment is conducting air in and out throughout your body, breaking down the foods that you ate this morning without you even thinking about how to actually do it. Or when you're sleeping at night, how you're able to completely rest your body and still continue to breathe without you even thinking how to do it. So it's recognizing that you are the purest essential nature. And that is self-realization to me. And in that, when you recognize that, when you become self-realized, some people might call it enlightenment. But I think the word enlightenment feels like it's only for gurus that are living in caves, and it also feels very it's like an outlier when you become enlightened. I think enlightenment, what that really means is just recognizing that you are the light, that there is an inner light that is within you, and you were able to, as the guru says, dispel darkness. So that's what the word guru stands for, the light that dispels darkness. So when someone is enlightened, or when they're self-realized, they've been able to dispel the darkness, or shed away the older parts of who they are, so that they can know the wholeness of who they are.
Thank you for sharing that. I know you've got the Royal Glow meditation retreat coming up in December. And I know we're going to have a couple months before the retreat when this episode comes out. So I was wondering if you would share a little bit about what someone could expect in the retreat, and then what someone could expect in their life from the retreat.
So it's been almost 10 years since I have devoted my entire life to this work. And when I say devote, it doesn't mean to just sit and study from books or from my teachers or in that experience. When I say devote, it means that I have learned how to take what I've studied and bring it into the embodiment of what I experience on a day-to-day basis. And I experiment with it. I figure out what works and what doesn't. And through this experimentation, I developed or formed a body of wisdom that I call Shanta Royale meditation. And it stands for the Royal Path of Peace. Because one of the things that I realize is that people often think if they want to find themselves, if they want to transform, we hear those words often, then they need to go away to the Himalayan mountains in India, or they need to book a trip to Bali, like the Eat, Pray, Love movie, or they need to go to Costa Rica. There's always a sense of, I need to go somewhere else in order to find this within myself. And what I want more people to recognize is that the royal path of peace and Shanta Royale meditation teaches you how to draw out that which is already within you, and recognizing that you are also part of all that is around you, and that there is not one blade of grass or one flake of snow that is hitting the ground without impacting other parts of the world. It's all connected. Just like the way when you look up and you see the trees and the branches, they look like nerves. They look like cells in certain aspects of our brain. Or the leaf and our hands, you can see how it's all connected. So what I do with Shanta Royale meditation is I teach you about the 5 different elements that we form from. Our humanness is formed from fire, air, space, water, and earth. And then I teach you different breathing practices and different meditations so that you know exactly what you can do to create more harmony between your outer world and your inner world and live the royal path of peace, meaning you're here to be prosperous. It's not about thinking to yourself that if I go on this spiritual path, then I can't have a thriving, successful business or a successful life, that I can't be into material things. It's not really about that. It's about you honoring who you are and recognizing that everything on earth is here for you to enjoy, but not to be possessed by, right? So like you really learn how to tap into your innate wisdom. You learn how to trust yourself more. You learn how to use and sharpen your own discernment, which is really important in today's world. I think that there's a lot of conflicting information as we've seen, and it's hard to know who to turn to or where to trust. And when we rely on apps, to learn how to meditate, while it might help a lot of people to get started, one of the questions that I want to raise is, well, what happens when, like in Texas, the power goes out, or like in New York City, your basement gets flooded and you had no idea that was coming for you. We can't constantly rely on our technologies 24/7, but we have an inner technology that is deeply intelligent and wise and powerful. And it's about learning how to tap into our inner technologies. And that's what Royal Glow meditation teaches people how to do. So it's very unique. It's very immersive. It's very subtle. And I've seen people go who have been meditating for years. They're in their 50s, to people who are new to meditation, and they all gain something completely different out of it. And what they're able to walk away with is this ability to live in their highest expression and to be who they are, which is different for everybody. So it's very integrative. It's an opportunity to walk away from your current environment to be in a different one for a moment, and then bring that back home. So you realize that you don't need to go somewhere, completely out of the country in order to have this experience.
It sounds amazing. Now, believe it or not, we're at the end of our time, and I want you to be able to share with the imagination how they can get in touch with you and learn more about the retreat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vince, for having me and for asking the questions that you did. I just love how you just ask different questions that bring out a different part of the story or the message. You can find me on sandyvo.com. Every information on there, my social media account, my email to contact me, it's all on sandyvo.com.
Thank you so much, Sandy. All that information, including the Facebook page information, I'll make available on Sandy's show page. Just go to themiracleu.com and the show page will have all that information for you. Sandy Vo, thank you so much for sharing your life with us today, sharing your story with us, and definitely thank you for living your divine intent and bringing your mission to the world in a way that helps so many people.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you so much for having me and for having this podcast and showing more people what miracles are possible.
Thank you. On behalf of Mary, my wife and business partner, the entire team at Imagine Miracles, we want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleu.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 mind-awakening steps toward your unique purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleu.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.